Welcome to We Are Not Here to Tick a Box with David Kane and Debbie Hayes. Episode 13, Ticket to Ride. So, welcome back to episode number, I think we're on 13 now, and episode 3 of series 2. 13 series, overall. Yeah, absolutely. Dear me, flies by. And you'd have seen in the title that maybe this has got something to do with the Fab Four. Well, it's not really, but we are going to take a bit of inspiration from the Beatles because in the last episode we talked about inputs. The best way of getting the greatest outputs is to concentrate on the inputs. But what does that actually look and feel like from an organisational perspective? And here comes another quote. Series 2 is all about quotes. John Lennon once said that a dream you dream alone is just a dream, but a dream you dream together is a reality. And that's what we're talking about here. It's about that belonging piece that we spoke about in series 1. And, what all leaders need to ensure that whatever the direction is in 2022 for your business, that all of your people absolutely want to buy that ticket to ride this train. That's what they want to do. Another Beatles pun there. The last thing we want is day trippers. Hey, we can keep going, can't we? But yeah, so let's talk about that inputs. What do we mean by good inputs? Good leadership? Making sure that those inputs, which your core USP is always going to be your people. How does that look like? What type of changes do we need to make? What do we need? What infrastructure do we need? Etc. Etc. What's your thoughts on it, Debbie?
My instant thoughts around inputs are stripping away the noise.
Okay.
Because so many people that I work with they're overwhelmed with noise, they're overwhelmed with emails, and it's like if you really stripped stuff away and got back to the concept of what is truly important and remove all the other stuff, for me, it creates much a greater sense of clarity that people can then buy into. When the environment or the workload, whatever, is very noisy, people get lost in it. So for me, it will be a big exercise of clearing away. So we've touched on this before about clearing away those legacy meetings, clearing away, the legacy policies. What is fit for today? Where you're going? And let's just, if we look at nature, in winter, it's very still, isn't it? Very, and the growth is is more under the surface, but there's also, there's been so many storms and stuff that we've had over the recent months, isn't there? And actually letting that old dead wood go, let all that old dead stuff go, and create the space for that new spring growth. So I think if we look at actually what nature's been around for so long, doesn't it? It sort of understands what it's doing.
Yeah.
So do that internal growth. Put the compost on. Look at what's going on.
Debbie, say it. Strawberry fields forever. Come on, say it. Yeah. That's what we mean. Absolutely. There you go.
Well, and my thing as we talk about strawberries, if you heard my quote about don't force the strawberry.
Go on.
Right, don't force the strawberry. Okay. So if you have a beautiful field grown strawberry, it smells beautiful, you cut into it, it's red all the way through, you have one, you want to eat the whole punnet. But forced strawberry, one that has been forced to grow in a polytunnel somewhere, it doesn't actually even have a smell, and when you cut into it, it's nearly all white and it's hard, and you eat it and it's like, yeah,
very satisfying.
It's not very satisfying. It certainly doesn't make you want to eat the whole punnet.
No.
So when you're making these choices as well about what to clear away, you need to focus on what would be those beautiful strawberries. Yeah. Not force growing anything, because to be honest, the results aren't going to be particularly good. Oh. And if you can grow those rich, juicy strawberries, then you're going to, there's going to be that element of satisfaction, but also from a business perspective, the customers will keep coming because you can't help yourself, can you?
What you're talking about, well, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because what you're talking about there is nurture. You know, if you've got to nurture the best outcomes. That's what you've got to do. And in the case of an organisation, it's people. Always will be people. And it's developing that over time and getting them involved and getting them that piece around belonging again. It's just vitally important. And you know, it's how do you do that? You know, in businesses. And I think that for me, what you need to always do is again listen. So you know, exit interviews. You know, if you've got you know, staff problems in terms of staff churn, etc., those exit interviews are absolutely pivotal. They're pivotal. Why are we losing people? You know, and encouraging people to be brutally honest. I mean, I've seen exit interviews in the past where somebody's had a go, and it's been like, just yeah, whatever. But then it happens again, and it happens again. You know, at what point are we going to start listening to this? You know,
you have to accept that. You have to accept that feedback that we've talked about before. You've got to be open to that vulnerability. And actually, if all you're doing is you've got that high churn rate, then you've got to look at those patterns, haven't you? Of if there is that dissatisfaction, and actually people feel like they're probably the only rewards they're getting are the 4 strawberries. It's like, it's not juicy enough, is it? People in the long term won't stay.
No. And you know, you talk about, I mean, I talk about inputs. I mean, I talk about mental health because, of course, that's what I do a lot of now. And you know, mental health always surprise people in terms of, I see a lot of things on mental health where it's solution based, not prevention based. See that a lot. And I think that, you know, I say to people, you know, mental health is everywhere. It's in recruitment and selection. It's in inductions. It's in colleague development reviews. It's in sales. It's in customer satisfaction. It's absolutely everywhere. And what you've got to see is where that fits into the whole organisation and actually the fundamental part that it plays. And it's the same with people. You know, you've got to understand what are your needs and the wants of your people. What are their capabilities? Gratitude. You know, showing that level of gratitude for what people are doing, their growth. You know, one of the things that I think often detracts from businesses, as in life, is comparison. You know, we compare too much. You know, and that, you know, right down to parents. You know, as parents, we compare children. Well, if my eldest child got A stars, then the next one's needs to get A stars. Why? Why? We're all on our own journey. We're all on our, you know, we've all got our own capabilities. You know, some people are naturally gifted, and you'll have met some people like this where, you know, they didn't really have to study and they got an A star. You know, they were just, you know, they have those brains. They got academia.
Yeah.
They could store information up, and they're fantastic. I would say, and don't get me wrong, I'm taking nothing away from that A star. It's brilliant. But is it to be more celebrated when somebody in the mock exam got a C, and in the final exam got an A? Might not be an A star. But that person who's not got that natural ability, even though they haven't got an A star, on paper, the A star is better. Actually, the A is very impressive because they've had to work harder. They've had to, you know, really study. They've had to change. They have to understand their own learning patterns, their own thought processes, and be able to apply it. You know, so what they're demonstrating is very difficult. So he's fantastic in terms of you know, what their skill sets is. And again, what we tend to do, you know, as an input to a business, are we bringing people in who, on paper, appear to be the best people? Are we, through the recruitment and selection process, getting under the skin of that and understanding what the capabilities of this person is in terms of adapting, changing, all the rest of it?
And this is where we've got to take that proactive approach, isn't it? And look at setting up things from the ground upwards in terms of laying foundations of what does the company really need.
Yeah.
Because the outputs is one thing, but you've got to look at, look at it the whole person, isn't it? Because actually the person that's gone from that C to the A has probably got far more qualities, far more experience to bring to the table. You know, because they've learned how to adapt, how to find their processes to improve and things. So actually, has that person actually got more qualities that would be useful?
Yeah. And that's the point.
It takes that time, doesn't it, to step back and look at that discernment. And like you say, for me, come back to, okay, let's get rid of the noise. Let's really understand what's truly important And when we understand what those important qualities are, they naturally then have to give those better outputs, don't they?
Well, absolutely, 100%. And one of the biggest challenges, that I always lay at the door of any leader is, from a cultural perspective in your business, from an input perspective in your business, who are you recruiting? Because if you're recruiting managers into your business at any level, you're not nurturing. Really, a really well and effectively run business, there's only one way in, and that's on the bottom run, because everybody's developed. So when we need a manager, we don't need to go external. We've developed internally people of the highest standard. And people say, yeah, but it's good to bring people in from the outside. They bring different perspectives and the rest of it. Yes, they do. But those perspectives were the same when they got on that first run. Actually, they're at the most purest then, because they'll probably be more honest. If we talked about fresh eyes, they'll probably be able to give you so much more, those people coming in on first run. Whereas if you come in at a manager's level in the same industry, you already have a perception of what this is all, what this particular company is looking for, etc. So actually, those fresh eyes meetings, a lot of the time, they're best at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of people coming into the business, giving you those little nuggets to go and move on. But I always say, really well-run businesses, the only way into that business is on run number one, because we have got a culture that is we develop our people. And of course, people like ourselves and courses and the rest of it, it's about, if you want that external influence going into somebody, then you can bring that in. You can do training courses, you can pay for them to go and do a degree, you can do whatever you want that'll give them a perspective outside of your organization. But really, the only way,
there has become an expectation as well, that people, this is my experience, that people have an expectation that they want to grow within businesses. And if there isn't that room in which to grow, because it's a natural instinct for humans to want to grow and expand, if they can't see those opportunities internally, then they will look outside. So we've also got to try and create these cultures that allow for growth.
And Debbie, how many times have you heard me say colleague development reviews? Here's a question. We're talking about managing inputs effectively to get the outputs that you want. In a colleague development review, is it about what you want from them, or is it what they need from you? Because it should always be what they need from you. If they could achieve a standard of whatever it is that you're wanting, the chances are, hopefully, that they are achieving it. There's barriers in their way, could be personal, could be professional, that are preventing them from aspiring to where the organisation needs them to be. But a lot of the time we say, you're here, we need you here comes the stick, make sure you're there next month or else. As opposed to going, right, you know what the expectations are. Can I ask you, what do you need from us for you to achieve what you wish to achieve? And that should be, because again, if it's led by the colleague, they're already invested. This is what I need. Now it's about your ability to navigate them. And if you're willing to do that and invest in them in that way, then again, the outputs will be greater. A lot of the work that I've done up to now is very much around this colleague development piece, because actually it sounds very easy, but in practice, very, very difficult. There's a lot of mind shifts that you've got to do to take somebody from this. It's about targets and business outputs to shift into it. Well, no, it's not. It's about people. It's about development, and that takes a bit of time.
And I think some of that need, though, is they don't necessarily need to know the specifics, but they need to know that they want the growth. And where I've seen people really have a sense of relief from is knowing that you're going to be the coach that will be at somebody's side and help them through growth. So it's not necessarily that because it comes back to, well, we're not ticking a box. It's not necessarily that they need to have an agenda of what to go through, but it's more the willingness and that openness of, I am here because I want to develop and I'm open to develop things that I need to. And so when the challenges arise, I am taking that ownership to look at that and to act upon the information that you can share with me. So I think that's important as well, is the willingness to be open and just to sort of really harness that desire for growth and expansion. And and if you can stand at somebody's side and help nurture the very best out of them, because oftentimes people can't see themselves or the depth of themselves or the talents. And when you can reflect that back to people and show them the qualities they have, show them the potential they have, it's like you're throwing manure on them, to be honest, because it really does help them to grow. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
People aren't often given that sense of encouragement. But when you can sort of really, nurture every part of them, it's amazing what you can see happen in people.
Well, again, time is ebbing away, but I'm going to try and get goosebumps again here. I'm going to go for goosebumps and see if I can get you some goosebumps. As you were just talking there, it reminded me of, I think it's a religious poem, Footprints in the Sand.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where, they're walking side by side and the footprints suddenly go into one, and it's where God says that, that's when I carried you. Actually, in business, there should never be just one footprint. I always say that, you walk at the side of somebody and it should never go into one. Sometimes they just need to stop. Because when you stop, you realize that other person has somewhere to grow. And this is going to take a bit of time. So rather than keep walking, we're just going to take a moment's pause. We're going to address what we need to address so we can continue to walk together. Because as a leader, I don't want to carry you. I want to develop you. And it's knowing when to stop.
Absolutely.
Don't know if I got a goosebump there, but anyway.
The power of the pause is huge.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, another episode. Hopefully people have enjoyed that one. We will be back next week. As always, Debbie, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Bye.
Join us next week for episode 14, Adaptability.